What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Boots, Banter, and Beyond, the stories of Irreverent Warriors, the show about how humor and camaraderie has changed lives for the better. I'm your host, as always, Eric Schessel. This episode going to be a little bit different from what you've seen in the past. First, we're going to bring back what we're going to call the Hike Spotlight segment, where we bring on local coordinators to get them some airtime so they can talk about their hikes and why IW is important to them and everything like that. It'll be more of an interview rather than just a little clip of them talking about their hike and stuff like that. So we're going to get into the meat and potatoes with each of the LCs. So the first one that we have up tonight is Audi from Puerto Rico. He's agreed to hang out with us for a little while, which is super appreciated. Before we get to Audi, though, we've got a special treat. Not short bus special either, but like special, right? So we've got every so often we do get an opportunity to wrangle the top leadership for conversations and stuff. We've taken some time out to have them join us for the show, and we're going to kind of call this From the Top, right? Because they're national, they're on top. That's a working title. We'll see if that sticks. But it's an opportunity for Hugh, Nate, and Ed to kind of come on and talk about the organization, talk about what's going on, rumors, questions, all that good stuff. So it's going to be a great segment. It's going to be something that's kind of new, and I'm super excited for it. But now let's get this party started. What's up, everyone? Ed, Nate, Hugh, how you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having us.
No, I can't tell you guys how excited I am that I got all three of you guys all here at the same time. Like, I know how busy you guys are. Before we get into any Q&A, we're going to go around the room. A lot of LCs that are going to watch us are going to understand exactly what we're doing, but we're going to do four things. So we're going to start with Hugh, and then we're going to go Nate, and then we'll go Ed, and we're going to do name, branch of service, title, and what IW means to you. And so they'll kind of give everybody a brief introduction so everybody knows exactly who you all are so they can hunt you down later. All right, so let's start with Hugh. Go for it, Hugh.
Awesome. Hugh Tychsen, United States Marine Corps. Fuck.
Roll within IW, buddy.
We're not even 5 minutes in.
I gotta write this down. 4 things. All right, hold on.
4 things.
All right.
He's new, guys. He hasn't been to the conference. He doesn't know the 4th rule yet. We'll get there.
Your name, your branch.
Yeah.
Freaking boot.
Your title, your role. And then give us something you love about IW.
Absolutely. Hugh Tychsen, United States Marine Corps. I'm the program director of Irreverent Warriors. Honored to be such. And what I love about IW, authenticity, vulnerability. You will not find any other nonprofit, any other VSO that has the level of authenticity and vulnerability we do in our folks, and just people just wearing their heart on the front of their shirt, on their backpack, just letting everybody know who they truly are deep down. Like, I think that's the most beautiful thing in this world right now.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to add to that?
I mean, the IW mission is near and dear to my heart. When IW first stood up, I wanted to be a part of it. When I saw it going on Facebook in the 1st Marine Division, I wanted to be a part of it. You know, I knew a lot of the guys that were involved, and 4 members of my 1st platoon, I did multiple tours, combat tours, but 4 guys from my 1st platoon have ended their own life prematurely over the years. And, you know, nothing hurt me more than that. The combat deaths, though traumatic and, tragedies in their own right, it's something I was prepared for as a part of the job. And to have this epidemic of suicides go through our ranks after we all made it home, after we helped each other and had each other's backs, has just been heartbreaking.
Heard. It's definitely tough. Nate, 4 things.
What's up, everybody? I'm Nate McDonald. My branch of service is also the Marine Corps. My role within IW has changed in title since the merger with Gruntstyle Foundation. I'm now the Director of Operations. Honestly, I'm doing a lot of the same stuff, but we'll get into that later. What I do love about IW, Hugh used different words, but I loved that this was the first organization I ran into, either while I was in the service or post-service, that I really felt like I belonged to. It was like a home. It was like one of the first, veteran service homes that I found. Everything before then, like when I was going through my exit interview with the Marine Corps, or as most people call it, TAPS, they were basically shoving resources down my throat. And I was too freaking stubborn to pay attention, much less to even talk about whether or not I needed them. So I didn't pay attention. I got through that like it was a checkbox. When I got out completely and started that transition process, despite the fact that I was still attached to the military, I was still around veterans, was not the same as when I was in the service. Started looking for organizations and opportunities to connect. None of them felt right. Group therapy sessions at the VA. It didn't make any sense for me to sit in a circle with people that I didn't know and talk about our sorrow in hushed whispers. That didn't seem natural. It didn't seem right. So I ran into Irreverent Warriors and identified an opportunity to make an impact in an organization that clearly was connecting with a different demographic of veteran than we're typically served by a lot of veteran services.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that later, but yeah, I'm going to leave it there. It was the first place I felt connected. I felt like it was reaching me and my comrades and not just the greater veteran community.
Absolutely. And I can empathize, because until I found IW, I had a big void. If you guys have ever heard my story, this isn't the place for that, but I had a big hole in my soul until I found IW. So I empathize with that message a lot. Ed, 4 things.
4 things. All right, everybody. I'm Ed Eaton. I am also a Marine vet. I also served Air Force Reserves for a little bit. It's a long story with that. I am the Deputy Director of Operations. I work under Nate. We'll get into that later as well. The one thing I love about IW is the diversity that we have with our people. All of our leaders, all of our participants, we all come from all different walks of life, but yet we are all family. I believe in my heart of heart that we are the model of how we should be acting in society. We have a moment where we can put all our differences aside and we come in agreement on one thing, and that is that we are veterans.
Outstanding. Absolutely. And before we even move on, just one quick comment I have is that the last time this Air Force veteran was hanging around with a bunch of Marines, we ended up taking over Oktoberfest. And so hopefully we don't get into that much trouble tonight.
It's always time for conquest.
Oh, absolutely. I had no idea what I was getting into, and yeah. Anyway, so let's start with some basics. We're gonna hop right into what I'm gonna call the meat and potatoes. All right. So with Hugh, how have you been settling in to your role as our IW program director? Tell us about all that.
Great question. As a program director, it's been an incredible honor, first of all, to be able to work with all the incredible, the passionate folks that are in this space and volunteer for IW. It's also been completely overwhelming because of the amount of moving parts that the organization has, as well as, I would say, the difference in coming from the military and a corporate background to a volunteer-led organization is that you can't just have a top-down mentality where you're ordering people around. In a volunteer-led organization, it's a lot more like George Washington during the Revolutionary War. He could say, New Hampshire, I want your artillery guns up on that hill. And they would go, no, we bought and paid for these on our own. And we're here because we want to fight with those guys, in Connecticut. We want to go on that other hill. And he would have to negotiate with them. I think there's a lot of leaders and there's a lot of leadership frameworks and training that says, oh, you got to tell everybody exactly what they're supposed to do, or they're gone, or they're out, and all these different things. Well, with a volunteer-led organization, you have to be a lot more, you have to earn the trust and respect. And IW isn't even, as volunteer organizations, IW is even more unique than the average because it's ran by extremely independent, rebellious folks, as we all know. It's grassroots, it's raw. They have passion in the mission, and they also have a passion in telling you their opinion, which is great. But you have to earn their trust. You have to earn their respect. So when I stepped into this role, I knew I was joining something special. I just didn't know all those different aspects of nonprofit work. So learning as I'm going, and we're shifting the culture. We're slowly and delicately shifting the culture from being known as an events provider, a therapeutic event provider with Silky's hikes, to a tribe of healing and service that has fun. You can do a lot more things in Silky's than hike. We have done sweat lodges where we all go in our Silkies, and we have fun, but we're really bringing things forward that we want to work through, bringing things we're ready to let go of in our lives. So that's all been wonderful. We've been reorganizing how we operate, but making sure that we're always balancing fun and irreverence along with accountability and impact. So it's been an incredible learning experience.
Outstanding. And you hit the nail on the head, because we can't treat this like a military organization or an actual like a company or a corporation, because we're all volunteers, and so you have to find ways to put people in the best position to succeed while getting their permission to be put in those positions, right? It's a very fine line you have to walk, and that's not just on your end. That's all four of us, as well as every single local coordinator. We all have to be cognizant of that, so it's super important.
Totally.
What are your goals for our program, for at least for this year, maybe the next couple of years? What's your vision?
That's a good point. A lot of folks asked when I came in, what's your vision right out of the gate? What's your vision? What are you going to do in 2025? What are you going to do with IW? And I took a big step back and said, first of all, we are going to co-create the future. We're going to decide as a group, as a team, what we're going to do in 2025. And so what we started with is something very basic that I know we all are aware of, which is command climate survey. So we went and we started with our board, our leadership team, and then out to our broader audience in IW through our newsletter. Literally anybody could weigh in on what are the things you like most about IW? What are the things we could be doing? What areas could we move into? What do you see the future of IW being? What is that vision? So we took all those command climate surveys. We prioritized the different things that came out of them, because I am a firm believer in co-creating the vision for the future. Like if this is a tribe, then it's not just going to be the top person deciding everything. I don't really like that model. I like an empowered ground up model where we are co-creating this together. So I take that very seriously. So our goals for 2025, as they've come out, is building a scalable foundation, but making sure we stay laser focused on the mission of improving mental health and preventing suicide. If you look at the DoD report that came out in November 2024, 2 months ago, it shows that after unprecedented investment in traditional modern healthcare approaches to suicide, which includes pharmaceuticals, talk therapy, inpatient treatment programs, unprecedented, never been spent before by the DoD on trying to curb the suicide epidemic. The results are in. A 12% increase in active duty suicides year over year. Yep. 12% increase after unprecedented investment. So we've got to try new things. The status quo is not working for the American veteran. And so one of the things we're doing is triangular compass emotional first aid kits. If you remember in combat, you first do buddy aid when you're hit and you have actual physical trauma. Buddy aid. In combat, when you get hit, you have physical trauma. The first step is self-aid. So you go into your first aid kit and you provide self-aid. then buddy aid, a buddy helps you, then corpsman or medic aid, and then combat surgical. And so from that perspective, with Triangular Compass, emotional first aid kits, we're going to be talking about what is that self-aid? What is that buddy aid? And so what a lot of that is helping veterans look internal, look into themselves. There's a lot of seeking. These people are going to save you. This is going to help you. There's going to be more going internal and assessing your health through the lenses of mind, body, and spirit. And then in addition to that, cold plunges, sweat lodges, different meditation types, retreats, things like that. So unconventional methods of healing and bringing that to IW.
And how do you, I guess a follow-up question for that is, because I know what Matt Scally does, the ice therapy, the cold plunge. I've recently started doing the it's fire and ice therapy, where you start off in a sauna and then you hop into the cold and you do that. So so I started doing that. I guess the big thing is getting the veterans comfortable with these different modalities and stuff like that. I mean, the old saying goes, we can lead a horse to water, but we can't make him drink. Like, we can provide all that stuff, but how do we get them to participate in that stuff? And this is an open question for all three of you guys. I just thought of that.
I think helping them, Ed's really big on cold plunges. He could talk about that a lot. I only do once a week. He's daily. So I think starting with the data. So Irreverent Warriors folks, just understanding the basic data about these different modalities, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions. So with cold plunges, clinical studies have shown that it can increase your dopamine and serotonin 250% a couple of minutes after a cold plunge. So that alone could be in place of a pharmaceutical you would take, for an acute onset of symptoms, right? So I'm having a panic attack. Cold plunge could help, and it's worth experimenting with that vice a Xanax. I'm not demonizing anything. I'm just pointing that out. I think it starts with the data and just understanding the impact some of these things can have, because they're simple and they're available.
Yeah, I can touch on that a little bit more. It does start with the data, because before I even started doing it, it's basically, I might have mentioned cold plunge, and I was just getting bombarded with ads on Instagram about all these different tubs. And I'm like, okay, well, it forced me to start going down the rabbit hole and really looking into it. And, I start seeing all these influencers doing it. And what I came to terms with is that it's not going to kill me by any means. And so I just went all out. I bought one, and I just had that mind. Said, I'm just going to do it. Now, the first time I did it, it was a real little shock. Then the second time, it just got better and it got better. I started dialing temperature down, started increasing my time in. And so it's just having that mindset to push yourself out of your comfort zone and just do it.
I have one more aspect that I think kind of goes hand in hand with what these two shared. And in my mind, it's one of the most important aspects of IW's organization, and one of the reasons why so many people are on a path to healing that weren't before they ran into their comrades, and that is peer support and accountability. One of the biggest things that we hear from people that attend our events are not just, hey, that was a cool hike. It's, I met so many people. I felt like home. These veterans are talking my language, and that ability for us to connect in that environment helps us forge fast friendships with people that have similar experiences. So now me and Ed are in this room. I could know all about plunges and workouts, healthy diet. Like, you don't even have to go that deep to find like these different aspects of wellness, right? But what is going to motivate me to actually pursue them? And for me, it's Hugh saying, yo, bro, you've been working for 12 hours straight. Shut it down and go for a beach walk. It's Ed mentioning, yo, I got into a hyperbaric chamber. Are you doing what you need to do, bro? Like, it is my peers. It's my buddies. It's the people that I know give a shit about me, that reach out to me and encourage me to do what I need to do to find that wellness, to pursue that wellness.
Absolutely. No, and I mean, and that's a summarization of it, right? Is that we just got to get our peers, our buddies to come out and do it, and at least try it. And because what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to say it sucks or it doesn't work or whatever, and which is fine. But at least you tried it, and you know that there's other things out there.
Absolutely. And the best thing we can do is present them with the facts, and then demonstrate them by example, and then hope the rest of our comrades find their own unique path toward wellness.
Totally.
Absolutely. Since you were the last person to talk there, Nate, so now you're now the director of ops, right? So tell us a bit more about that role and what you're currently working on.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to stick with wave tops on this one. One, it's been a long day, but number two, you guys don't really want to hear the nitty gritty. But I'm now the director of operations, which is basically a lot of the same stuff I was doing in my previous role. That being said, Ed coming into the position that he's come into, and Hugh coming into the position he's come into, and a lot of these other support resources we've had join our team, it's headed the right direction. I've already seen the bandwidth required of my position decreased in a much more healthy fashion. Really stoked about the support and resources we have this year compared to the last 5 that I've spent with this organization. So wanted to mention that first. Second is I don't do anything alone, and that is it's a beautiful thing for me. I have significant memory loss, and knowing that people are working with me collaboratively in all of these other departments and areas is super important. So I work with Hugh, I work with Ed, I work with so many different volunteers and team leads throughout the organization, and they support a variety of systems and mechanisms and duties that kind of happen behind the scenes. A lot of the folks that attend the hikes, they see the hike and they're like, there was a lot of effort put into planning that event. And for some reason, that seems like it's the scope of our organization. I'm letting you know right now, a lot is going on behind the scenes, but I'm going to give you a few examples. Really, if I was to distill it down, we help maintain IW's mission by working with and supporting the organization, headquarters leadership, our local team leaders, and obviously our chapter leadership across the world. Do that in a bunch of different ways. I created somewhat of a list so I can hit the high points, or I was going to end up in a difficult spot. But these are some of them. We have branding and trademarks, reporting, compliance, merchandise, IT, subscriptions and platforms, policy and documentation, strategy, obviously strategy implementation, development, fundraising, partnerships, public affairs, public relations, HR, marketing, community. I could keep going like on and on down. And these are all things that are occurring while all of our amazing leadership are executing events and maintaining their local chapters. So along with that is general communication and mentorship and the leadership and connectivity that we try to provide to everybody in our organization. But like I said, all of these variety of tasks, it's a collaborative partnership with the other leadership. I just get to serve and support and work my butt off to accomplish something I'm really proud to be a part of.
Well, I didn't hear a lot of different things. You left a lot of stuff out. I didn't hear anything about these audits. I didn't hear anything about the taxes. I didn't hear anything about all the financial stuff. So yeah, there's a lot there.
There is, yeah. There is a lot. I'm not going to use this opportunity to say, hey, have patience with leadership, but understand we've got a lot going on, but there is nothing we care about more than this mission. There's a reason we're at the table. I promise you, it's not the paycheck.
Right. Well, I mean, and speaking of your resources, the guy above you on the screen that directly beneath you, he likes it, is Ed. He's currently our deputy director of operations. So Nate, so talk to us about that and how you're transitioning into that role and kind of what other things that you're working on as well.
It's fantastic, man. I feel like at every stage of this organization, there's been a fresh set of challenges. When I first joined the organization, there was a huge cultural development shift that we were going through. From top to bottom. And I started working with the organization in 2018. That has continued. that evolution is day in and day out. You want to talk about challenges we're going to face forever. It's being the veteran community is such an incredibly powerful community. There is so much potential in our ranks. It's amazing. And I don't think any of us think we're achieving what we could as a community. So we want our community, our veterans that interact with IW and our organization to be leading the charge on so many of these efforts when it comes to mental health and bucking the status quo. Instead of doing the same thing everybody else is doing, we're willing to do it different. Some of that evolution that has occurred in our culture and among our leadership and our personnel, and in me personally, over the last 6 years, I just had to do more mental math. I think we're at 7 years now. Ruh-roh. Anyway, a lot of that evolution has also applied to the organization, Irreverent Warriors, as it has evolved from, hey, we put on a bunch of silkies hikes around the country to, no, we're going to sustain those operations and connections. We're going to sustain that network by maintaining local communities. We're going to put more effort into developing and recruiting leadership members that are a good fit for these teams and can come on board and help. The challenge with any evolutionary process is making sure you stay grounded, especially when we're talking about organizational evolution. And I think that's going to be the challenge that has been the challenge, that balance. Okay, hey, guess what, guys? Irreverence, it is not mooning local cars while you're doing a silkies hike down the street. That's not irreverence. That's not responsible. Now you're not only giving the community a black eye, but our organization. And how are you actually helping yourself or others? How about irreverence is you're wearing silkies in public with a bunch of your friends, and you're willing to make dark jokes and laugh through your traumas and be there for each other in the darkest moments. Like, we are trying to change people's perspectives or perceptions of what irreverence is, and thereby what Irreverent Warriors is and what we're trying to accomplish. What I want to make sure gets through to everybody that could be watching, although that evolution is going to be an ongoing process, we have a laser focus on our mission. Our mission statement has not changed from when I joined the organization until now. How we execute that mission statement, hopefully we've gotten more and more impactful in accomplishing our mission year over year. But we are going to stay grounded and we're going to stay mission focused. I have a couple more examples. I think one of them is honestly probably volunteer burnout and even staff member burnout. This organization, I was talking about how it's kind of reaching a unique demographic. And we talked about some of those characteristics or traits of our typical veteran. And I don't want to just generalize, all veterans are the same or all veterans within IW are the same. But because we know we're all incredibly unique individuals. But within the organization, I feel like it is an emotional roller coaster. 1 second, you're at an event with your best buds, having an all-time high, listening to a motivational speech and spending the day connecting and talking about how we can improve ourselves going forward. Like I said, having freaking fun, you name it. And then the next moment you're on the phone with somebody that, despite giving every ounce of effort they can to the Irreverent Warriors mission, they're worn out. Their hands are bleeding and they are just tired. And I promise you, those folks come to me or Hugh or Ed, we're not going to kick them out the door, but we are definitely going to encourage you to take a step back and do that self-aid that Hugh was talking about. Get that priority right. So that's huge. Every single time we have leadership members or staff members turn over, that's an entirely new process that has to come into play. Recruiting, mentoring, developing, and then integrating. And that happens over and over and over, day after day and week after week. And it's exhausting. So that's an ongoing challenge that, we are leveraging 98%, something like that, of our volunteers. And it's higher than that. We have very few staff members, but it's almost entirely volunteer run. That turnover is inevitable. So although we collectively are trying to find better ways to manage their bandwidth and activate and leverage people where they're going to be healthy and engaged, it's difficult. It's challenging. I think all of us feel burnout day in and day out, depending on. I don't know about burnout. We feel the burn. I'll just say we feel the burn.
Well,
and then
go ahead.
I was just going to say one last example. And once again, we could do this all day. We don't have the time. You can't have a mission without money. And although nobody wants to talk about budget in the nonprofit space, this is a tricky era for philanthropy. The economy has had a downturn. Philanthropy has been dropping off for 20 years. People aren't giving of themselves. And the last thing we want to do as a veteran-focused nonprofit is reach into the pockets of the veterans we're supporting and try to get them to support. And they support us by the thousands, bro. They will donate at our events. They'll purchase our merch. Like, they want to see this mission stay alive. We don't want to over leverage that. So now we're trying to reach out to corporations that take one look at our website and go, what are you doing? Like, they don't get it. It doesn't make sense. It's not polished. It's not the amputee with a service dog and a sad face. Like, we have 300 veterans in short shorts looking like they're having the day of their lives.
Yep.
And they're like, they don't get it. So trying to take all of that and interpret it, or translate it, I should say, into something that is impactful for your random corporate civilian C-suite individual is a challenge. So yeah, I would say that we are always going to have to find unique and creative ways to sustain our mission financially, because the overhead to run an international nonprofit is insane, even outside of the expenses involved in our actual activities.
Right. Well, I think with you talk about the fundraising and stuff like that, the income part. I really think if we started to do short little commercials, kind of like those Sarah McLachlan puppy dog commercials, where we play the super sad music, and we just have like the super sad music playing in the background, and just like random veterans just looking like, like post Silky's, like where they're just exhausted, they're sweaty, they're tired, and just have them in poses and just with the Sarah McLachlan music in the background. And you want to donate to to make sure these warriors stay irreverent. This is just for $1 a day. For $1 a day, you can see.
So the funny thing about your suggestion is we have brought this concept up like 2 or 3 times over the last couple of years with Kyle and Mel, and now Anna working in marketing. And it's hilarious, the different concepts we've come up with. But this one, we still want to execute. I think it's obviously going to be a little bit tongue in cheek, but I think it would be hilarious.
Oh, it would absolutely be hilarious. And I'm totally in. Like, I would totally help with that.
I'm down.
Anna, when you see this, Eric's volunteering to be in that video set.
I will absolutely be in that video set. That's not a problem. So, all right. So now we talked about the challenges from Nate. So Ed, finally coming up to you.
So
you moved into the deputy director of operations. You are directly underneath Nate. Yeah. How does that feel? But
depends on your perspective, I suppose.
but so you've kind of taken on new roles, new responsibilities and stuff like that under your direction. So what are some of the things that you're working on?
So I'll have to kind of start with where it started with all that. May of last year, I got hired on as the national events coordinator. Once coming into that role of having all the other RCs, our regional coordinators, we had all that middle management that was going on, volunteer middle management, and things just weren't quite, there was no consistency, and that's anybody's fault. And I kept thinking of ways like, how do we streamline this? How do we make this better? How do we make it easier? And after some meditation, I was sitting in my HBOT, and the idea hit me, a couple months later, right after Hugh came on. I was like, how about we get rid of the middle management, and I absorb all that until we can grow, we can sustain, and actually bring on more paid staff. And everybody called me crazy, and I kind of am. And so really just had the plan, that the vision of just flattening the leadership within the organization, streamlining everything we're doing, really make it just forward facing and easier. Granted, put more on my plate, but hey, it's easier to hold one person accountable than having 13 others accountable for what other volunteers are doing. So with that, we got to where we are now. We built out a chapter management tier system to where, for example, we can't ask the Casper, Wyoming chapter to operate at the same level as San Antonio, Texas. They're completely different populations for fundraising, for everything. So we created these different tiers to which they can operate in, which they can also grow in. But it's more, I guess, reasonable for them to operate within, right? So getting everybody into their proper tiers, getting to understand what their tiers are. If they do want to move up, basically they kind of pitch me how they're moving up and what they're going to do. And really start bringing on more performance reporting, doing performance reviews with our LCs, having more of that one-on-one connection that through surveys, many of them lost over the years of having that one-on-one connection. And it's been great. I haven't gotten to talk to everybody, but I've gotten to talk to a lot of y'all, and it's been super rewarding. Also coming up with the after action reviews. By the time we get to the AARs, man, I already know your full story, and you're pretty much telling me things that we both already know, and that's my goal. And that we're also bringing our tactical talk time, which is replacing our Wednesday night lives. We're just doing every other week. And either that's going to be subject based or it's going to be an open forum. But again, it's going to allow that time for everybody to log on. We're just doing it through Google Meet right now. It's very informal, and I think we've had a pretty good. Everybody's been very well receptive with that.
Yeah,
So,
I've hopped on and listened and everything, and from an LC perspective, is I think there's a lot of good takeaways from that. So I think that's definitely a good tool to have.
Cool, that's good to hear, man. Yeah, than that, and it's just dealing with the day to day, whatever problems some LC has or has whatever question. I'm the guy. I'm the one, and I make myself readily available. If I can't answer your call, I can't answer your email right away, I'm going to. And I think people have gotten to know that so far.
Yeah, and if I could add, and this was not my idea, but this was an idea throughout the staff. But in 2025, in order to lead by example, we've got to put our money where our mouth is, and we've got to lead chapters ourselves. So all of us on the national staff, we are all LCs. We are all local coordinators. So we have chapters in cities. We lead them. We fundraise for them. We lead hikes. We coordinate hikes. And so we feel and go through the same thing and the same processes. We hold ourselves accountable to follow the processes for each of our chapters that we're laying out for everyone else to follow. So I think we've got to eat our own dog food, and we're usually the first to test out those new processes. So just want to make sure that we get that out there, that we are doing our best to lead by example, and we're not asking people to do anything that we're not going through ourselves.
Right, and I think that's super important for people to understand, is that you guys just aren't directing from on high and not actually putting in the work outside of the admin side of the house. Like, you guys are not only you guys running the program, from a national perspective, but you guys are also boots on the ground doing your own individual hikes. And I think everybody needs to understand that you guys, like I said, you guys just are not ordering us around and then telling us where to go, what to do, and all that stuff. You guys are actually doing the same things that we are, like I am as an LC, so that you guys are seeing and hearing and understand what the processes are. So it's good to hear, and I hope that everybody that tunes in and listens is gonna take that away also. That's super important.
Yeah, definitely. It's very eye opening for a lot. Being in this position and being an LC. I've been in an LC for quite some time already, but when I have to take this hat off and put on my LC hat, then take time away from our meetings or whatever task we have for that day to go collaborate with the local community, it still keeps me humbled with knowing what, everybody has to go through.
Yeah. So what are you looking forward to most in 2025 from a national perspective?
And so from where I'm at, everything we've done in the past has always been hikes, and that's it. You had a lot of LCs like Nate was talking about earlier with volunteer burnout. Putting on a hike as well, it takes a lot out of you. What I'm hoping that our LCs really start catching on to is creating these other events, these alternate events for healing. Whether it's getting a bunch of people together to go do cold plunges or, go sitting in a sauna or whatever it may be. I want veterans to get out of isolation. I don't care if hey, Wednesday nights, we're going to go walk through the park. That's what we do. My local chapter, once a month, we meet at a local pizza restaurant, and it's consistent. Sometimes we have 3 people show up. Sometimes we have 30. I want our LCs to start grabbing onto those other opportunities. And I want that to grow our organization. I don't want us to just be known for Silky's hikes and that's it. I want to be able to turn around to other people and be like, hey, San Antonio, we're doing equine therapy. Dallas is, they're doing hikes in their green belt through the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Whatever it is, man, we need to shift gears.
Yeah, in St. Louis, we're doing Afghan barbecues. So we have a great Afghan population here with a lot of translators, and we do these barbecues where we get together veterans with Afghan refugees, and they all eat this barbecued Afghan food that they really want to cook it for veterans, and veterans really want to eat it and get to know some Afghans. And it's just bringing a bunch of people together with a really positive vibe, I guess you could say. And then it's just people just gelling and the healing that goes through with these relationships that are built cross-culturally, and they continue on after the barbecues. And it's just been really cool to see. But a part of our model is you don't have to do exactly this or that. Like, be creative. We want to empower people to co-create with us. We want you to be creative. We want you to bring your specific superpowers and your relationships to bear to do new things that help people and advance mental health,
Yeah. One example, I had an LC who was been trying to step down. She's just completely burned out doing hikes. Stays consistently engaged in her local community. We're trying to find somebody to come in and fill in that spot for her. Just nothing was panning out. And she goes, well, what if I don't do a hike? I'm like, what do you like? You like camping, you like hiking. She's like, yeah. I'm like, make it an IW event. She goes, oh my God. Like, you have my full support. Like, do something.
Yeah, we've got a guy that leads big group kayak runs. He does big veteran kayak things, and he was just doing them on his own. Yep. So we said, let's throw the IW flag on it. And he said, we can do that? And I said, absolutely. Let's get out there. Let's do some interesting things. Let's build this tribe, this culture. And let's wear silkies while we kayak. Let's wear silkies while we do equine therapy. Like, I'm here for it.
Yeah, IW isn't silkies hikes. And I know that's been our primary event, and God damn, I'd be sad if it went away. I very much enjoy a good silkies hike. But I mean, yeah, people have to understand IW and its mission transcends hikes or even silkies.
Well, yeah, the big thing is, and I think it was something that the message I tried to put out up here in Connecticut was that, the end of our mission doesn't end with the silkies hike. It's not this. So once the silkies hike is over, we'll see you next year. Goodbye. Like, no, we save lives by continuous intervention, right? And so we can't just do that one day out of the year. We got to do more. And so hopefully that catches on with all the chapters where we're all doing all kinds of community engagement and stuff like that out there, and really finding new ways to help save lives, because that's the bottom line.
Absolutely. And that message is very strongly worded in our post-hike briefs. So if you haven't been to one yet, get to a hike, pay attention in the briefs.
Right? So now that we've got the business out of the way, we're going to get into some of the pleasure here. So we've got some questions that some people had posted. So we're going to get some quick answers out of you guys for some of this stuff, and then we'll wrap up. This one's for Nate. If Ed offered you $100 to cuddle for an hour, would you take that money, or would you need more or less money for that to happen?
Well, my answer is pretty straightforward on this whole issue. I mean, because it's Ed, I have to tell you straight up, your money's no good here. I love Ed, but also I know Ed well enough that he's probably not asking me for an hour, specifically an hour of cuddles, without it being some sort of necessary situation. So yeah, I'd probably just jump in, no questions asked, $100 is off the table.
Your money's no good here, Nate. Or sorry, Ed. How does that make you feel?
Fool me once though, Ed. You trick me into cuddles one time, and it's not an emergency. We're gonna have words, bro.
It would last for 1 minute. Like, okay, you're hot.
Right? Like, yeah, that's yeah. Ed, how often do you do calf raises? That's another question.
Oh, every day, man.
Calf raises every day.
Pretty much, yeah.
We're gonna have to do a calf off the next time we hang out in person. Because I've been getting back into the gym and doing my squats, and for some reason my calves are exploding, and it's absolutely ridiculous. My socks don't fit anymore. I have to wear ankle socks now, so it's stupid.
Yeah.
I will work out with any of you, but my legs don't grow. They just, I promise you, they stay the same effing size no matter how many squats and calf raises I do. But I'm fast.
He is so fast. Okay, so I went to the gym with him a couple of weeks ago. I got to tell this anecdotal story. And I'm like, hey, do you want to warm up? There's this stretch, because I'm 44. So I'm like getting on the stretching machines and doing all this different warm up stuff. And he goes, oh, I just warm up on the treadmill. Walks over to a treadmill. And I look away. I'm doing something for maybe 60 seconds. I look back, and this guy's just, as fast as you can possibly run. It's like $1 million man. He's just trucking, like he's got it set at like 12 or 15 or something. Everybody else is just kind of doing their normal, the old lady thing. And he's just like, I'm like, this is your warm up?
This is my pro tips for anybody with bad joints. Get it done fast. I hate running. I hate cardio. I do it as fast as I can. And if I do that, it also decreases the amount of compression on my joints. So science.
Like I think about sprinting and like I pull a hand up. Like my hamstrings are so so like sprinting is not like I will run, don't get me wrong. But like I gotta stretch first. Like there's no just hop on a treadmill and going. Like that doesn't happen for me. I will die.
I slip a disc just thinking about it. Like,
see, oh man, all of our old man bodies, except for Nate apparently.
Right.
So Ed, are you Wyatt Earp for Halloween every year, or do you embrace that daily?
So this is a daily thing. It's pretty well attached. Gotta tell you. But I've already been threatened that if I shave it off, some bad things are gonna happen. So I've wanted to trim it, and that's just I'm too afraid of just effing it up. So I'm just keeping it groomed, and yeah. So daily thing, man.
Full Yosemite Sam, man. That's what we're hoping here. It just gets ridiculously just big and
right,
awesome.
Yeah.
I think that we got the one more question. This one's a little bit more serious, and Hugh, you might be the best person to answer that. The Travis Manion Foundation is an awesome organization. Is there anything in the works with them in the upcoming year?
That's a great question. I love the Travis Manion Foundation. So my favorite thing about them is their mission with the families of the fallen. I think that was a huge gap prior to them. At least in the Marine Corps community. So I definitely appreciate it. Huge respect for Travis. Travis was in the same division I was in at the same time, 1st Marine Division out of Camp Pendleton. And when I was coming home from my second tour in Iraq, he was just leaving on his first tour in Iraq to the same part of Al-Anbar province in Western Iraq, where the Al-Qaeda and Iraq guys and ISIS guys all love to hang out. And he volunteered to be on an advisor team. I also volunteered to be on an advisor team. We were not on the same advisor team, but we share a lot in common, and I think we would have a lot to chop it up about if he had survived. So much respect for their organization. I'm a member of their organization as far as receiving all their emails and their event opportunities and things of that nature. I think we could collaborate with them on their they have this thing called Operation Legacy Service Projects, and it's community service stuff. And I think IW chapters that are in those areas could collaborate very easily on the community service projects. They also have something called honoring the Honor Project, and so that's placing challenge coins on military graves on Memorial Day. I think that's something cool that we could do together. I'm always looking for the right partner to do a IW skateboard contest. Just throwing that out there. Anybody that wants to grind and compete with me at the age of 44, I'm down to do it. So great question.
Like sprinting on a treadmill. Throw me on a skateboard, I'm probably gonna break a hip.
It's weird. I'm good on a skateboard. I don't have to really warm up.
No, dude, I would die. I'd die immediately. I don't think I'd get both feet on the skateboard, bro. Not at the same time, anyway.
Yeah, right. Well, I think that about takes care of our From the Top segment of the show. Do you guys have any final messages or words of wisdom for our listeners before I kick y'all out of here?
I have some thoughts. I know, as if I didn't already share enough. No, I'm grateful for this opportunity. Thanks for having us on the show, Eric. This has been fun, and I look forward to connecting with some of y'all in person very soon. I want to let you all know these two folks that I'm working with are pretty amazing. Everybody I work with is, but I was talking about collaboration earlier, and it is something that we are trying to lead by example with as well. Like, we collaborate on almost anything. Freaking Hugh mentioned, well, there's other things you do. Like, nah, bro, you can't bring up finances and compliance. You handle most of that, and I just help. And I just love that we were setting out all of our priorities, and we had lines with sticky notes. And I swear there were just as many tasks on the lines between our areas of responsibility than there were solely in our area of responsibility. So just know we are working together. We ask all of you to work together, whether you're inside or outside the organization. Collaboration is everything. Understand each other, approach interactions and relationships with emotional intelligence. Work to develop yourself as the mentor and the example that the veteran population needs. Allow IW to be your conduit toward improved wellness. Don't look to us for the answers. Just participate with us in finding the right answers for you. Our tribe is incredibly unique and is a vital resource for underserved and at-risk veteran populations. Come for the hikes, stay for the healing.
Love it.
I just came up with that like half an hour ago.
Good job.
Love it. That's on brand. That's totally on brand. I think that everything he said was, we have an incredible team. It's teeny, teeny, tiny. You're looking at it. I'd love, next time we come on, we've got a part-time marketing director I'd love to bring on, Anna. She's also fantastic. I'd love for her to share what she's up to. But thank you so much for having us. Very grateful for having you and all the other local coordinators that spend so much time and really put their hearts into this organization, putting together these wonderful events and chapters. So thank you.
Welcome. Ed?
Yeah, man, again, thank you for having us on. This is truly an honor. It's truly an honor to be in this position. It's more of an honor to get to work with Hugh and Nate. Anything I got to tell anybody, man, is just hold yourself accountable to everything you do. Push yourself out of your comfort zone every day, and it's going to suck. And once it gets to the point where it doesn't suck, push yourself even further. Make it suck. And build that resilience. And I tell you what, that's something I had to embrace on my own. And it has been more than rewarding. I wouldn't tell you to do anything I haven't done either.
Except grow a mustache.
Yeah. That's just a gift.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to join the show and talk about everything that you guys talked about today. Hopefully, everybody kind of takes something away from that when they tune in and they listen to this. I know you guys are busy, but this is just not only appreciated by me, but like I said, anybody that tunes in and listens to this is going to hopefully take something away and appreciate the message that you guys have brought out. Have a great rest of your night, and we will talk again very, very soon. Coming up next, we've got IW Puerto Rico local coordinator Audi Laboy for our hike spotlight segment. Stay tuned. What's up, Audi? How are you doing, brother, down there in Puerto Rico?
What's up? I'm so excited. Also, it's warm here in Puerto Rico, enjoying the warm weather of the winter in Puerto Rico.
What do you in your warm weather? What's the temperature down there right now?
Well, I live in the mountain around 70. It can get down to like 69 tonight, but during the daytime, we're like 80s, 90s, really easy.
I'm kind of mad at you for that. I'm like in the teens up here in Connecticut, so I could really do with some of that. Send some of that heat my way. I need some of that.
Just come down to our hike.
I need to get down there. It's hard with the job that I have to take that kind of time, but I definitely want to get down there soon. So all right, so talk to us about your, not just the Silkies hike. We'll get to that in a minute, but tell us how you got involved with IW and the impact that IW has had on your life. Like, talk to us about that.
Well, it is funny that you asked me that, because I think my story has been different from a lot of the people that actually were invited by someone, or either like knew the news somewhere. In my case, I was living in Puerto Rico. I came back way before the Hurricane Maria happened, and I have a friend in social media. His name is Chris Wilson from Cincinnati. We used to be like social media Instagram friends from like a beer club, and then one day we figured out that we each other were veterans, so that kind of like solidified our online friendship. And he posted about the Cincinnati hike, and as I said, like, this is so cool. I mean, this is amazing. I want to know more about this. So I started looking online about it. I wanted to go back to do the hike in Seattle, because that's where I pretty much like spent most of my career when I was in the Army. And then also clicks in my mind, like, we don't have this in Puerto Rico. Like, I want to have this experience in Puerto Rico. So I reached out to the organization, and they told me, actually, as a matter of fact, we're going to have our first hike this year. And I was like, really? And that's how I went to my first hike. Actually, I was a volunteer in the first hike. I didn't get to hike. My second year was actually my first hike, the second year of Puerto Rico hike. And that's when I actually met face-to-face Chris Wilson. That's the first time we met face-to-face, and we get to do the hike together. It was his first time in Puerto Rico, so it was just like a perfect, like, experience for me.
So you mentioned you were Army. So talk to us about your military service. So what did you do in the Army?
I was working with the Special Forces in the Army. I did some photography as well in the Army. I did 12 years, and I ended after that like staying in Washington State and working for Microsoft as well.
Okay, cool. What so you're talking about Chris Wilson and kind of how you got into becoming involved with the Irreverent Warriors, but what is your favorite story from your experiences so far with Irreverent Warriors?
So many. If I think like I cannot, if I can tell you, like this last week, and this is something that I tend to encounter since I became part of the Irreverent Warrior community, mostly in Puerto Rico. I was at Home Depot, and there was a guy walking, and he saw me. I have my hat, and then he goes like, "Irreverent Warrior, like, you are like the leader, right?" And it's like, "Yeah, I was there last year." And he came to me, he gave me a hug. And at that moment, he actually needed a hug. He needed to talk. He needed to someone to, speak about his issues and kind of like help him out to find solutions to it. So with that, what I'm trying to say is like my experience, like my favorite experience, is every single day that I can find a veteran that I can help because of the organization allows me to have that spotlight, or we had created that in Puerto Rico. I feel like in Puerto Rico we are like the forgotten child. Like in the United States, they say they forget about the veterans, but it's really easy to be a veteran in the United States. Everybody will tell you thank you for your service. It's not easy to be a veteran in Puerto Rico. Nobody will tell you like thank you for your service. We cannot hide more because we live in Puerto Rico, and having that culture here was the reason that when I found out the organization, and I wanted to have that because I have that kind of like emptiness in me. Like I want to feel pride of what I have done with my life. And I want every single Puerto Rican to actually express the same because I know inside of them they have that, but we're hiding. So by having the Irreverent Warriors and creating that community in here have allowed us actually to grow to that point that they are looking forward for the hike because it's the moment where every single organization in Puerto Rico can display their pride in a place like they never done that before. We have been able to do that, and every year we growing and growing and growing more. And with that exposition, it's actually letting other veterans know like you're not alone. There's people here for you. And then that happened that I'm walking in the street and someone comes to me because they know my face, but I don't know them personally. But still, we're connected because that's what IW did. So that's my favorite story. Every single time that I can find someone that say this organization is something that is close to my heart, it's something that is powerful, it's something that I feel connected to so many people without even knowing them for years or years.
That's no, that's awesome, and that's kind of like the I don't even know how to say it. Like that's powerful, is what that is. For you to just be able to kind of like walk down the street and have people come up to you, you may not even have met them in person, like person to person, or spent a lot of time with them, but they recognize you because of what you're doing for the veteran community down there in Puerto Rico, and they recognize that, and they recognize you, and they know that they can come to you, and yeah, that's awesome. That's super
Mm,
awesome.
yeah, I mean, it gets my heart filled every single time. That's why I keep doing this, every single year since like Mario Sima started in just in Puerto Rico. He's the one that actually brought it, from the Coast Guard. I think he never knew the impact or the necessity or the need that Puerto Rico had to bring something like that. He brought it because someone else, brought him to a hike, invited him. He was like having the post blue hike, and he's like, I need to do this in Puerto Rico because he was stationed here. But by mistake, for saying like that, right? By mistake, he just created something big, and it's like now that we've been growing the community. It's been like usually like we do activities in Puerto Rico, piggyback riding from other organizations. Why? Because it's have taken time to people to understand who we are. It's kind of like we're what we do, right? And it's not easy to explain it, so they have to feel it, and to be able to feel it you have to show it to them. And I remember I was talking, one of the guys that I met, I think the second year or third year of the hike. Yeah, it was third year. um, my dad was in the Army Reserve since I grew up.
Okay.
I used to shine his boots. I used to like iron his uniform, the BDUs. And I grew up with that part. Like maybe one day I want to wear my own boots, right? And I met people that served with him, and they always say like, "You're such the opposite from your dad. Like you're so caring. Like I hug everybody. Like you know, we've been teaching this part of like loving to each other, which they don't teach you that in the military. They teach you to
Right.
be a certain way, right? And now it's just like I see you, I will hug you, and I will like really genuinely care about you, and I want to listen to you and know about you I have people have called me. I was traveling, I was in California from Puerto Rico. They called me. It was like 3 in the morning or 6 in the morning in Puerto Rico. They called me. I, answered the phone. They need it, and they knew that, right? So creating that community and keep growing, it's been like such a bless for us, and that's why the hike for us is really important because it's a way to let people know that we are working together. We are all together. And then from there, once we like, this is going to be our 5th year. So from there, we're going to actually build more and more stuff for our community. Once those veterans come out, because we need to know where they're at, right? So we're
Yeah.
trying to make them to come out because they're hiding. Because I was hiding when I was here. I mean, no, not a lot of people knew I was a veteran. So I was hiding that part of me, and now we're not hiding anymore. And now we're just talking about our issues, and now we're letting people know like this is what we are, and letting the community know as well.
And that's huge because you're going to get more growth each and every year the more and more you do that. And it's not even just the Silkies hikes. If you guys are doing more things out in the community, you're going to continue to grow exponentially. And your veteran community that's hiding down there in Puerto Rico is they're gonna crawl out of their comfort zones. They're gonna come hang out, and it's gonna change their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So what can you tell us about the 2025 Puerto Rico Silkies hike? Can you give us any details, any juice, without spoiling any surprises? We know we're coming up on February 1st, but you got to let us know what's going on.
So every single year has been better and better, and this year we have a few surprises. Our hike is really different from every other hike, and the reason is because of the logistic, how our city is built. So we have moments to be able to connect with every other veteran. Like sincerely, you have that space to be able to sit down and talk. So one of the things that we're gonna add this year, we don't do a after party, and the reason is because we have people traveling from far away. So we don't do like usually, so people go back, they get a shower, they come back out, whatever. We actually create these post hike extended sharing moment where we're gonna sit down and have lunch and then be there for each other. Our hike is shorter than other hikes. Other hikes take most of the day.
Yeah.
Because of the logistic hours is shorter. Also the heat, a lot of people can always stand the heat a lot here. Believe it or not,
Yeah.
it's winter time, but here it gets hot as it is the summer. So if it's like really hot, so we don't kind of spend too many hours outside. So that's one of the things. In that moment, we're gonna have a couple of surprises for people in that place to kind of like have a way to share with each other. And also, we have some special guests coming to visit. So that's the one that I'm gonna leave it for people to know. They sign up, they will know who they are.
Nice. And I mean, even if it is a shorter hike, like the distance isn't really important. It's the time spent with your brothers and sisters. Like that's what's important. So
Yeah.
I mean, you may not have a 10-mile hike like some cities have, but I'm sure that the connections and stuff like that are just as important.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of people say, that was kind of short, but we have enough time to be able to, connect with each other. And I think that's, I've been to a few other hikes outside, um, and they're amazing. Every hike is amazing, unique. But I feel like our hike, it just allows us to connect to that level that, because we need it. I mean, like I say before, in Puerto Rico, we need that part of like sharing the stories and, knowing people that served with my dad. It's like, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that, you were the son of this guy. I was like, yeah, that's my dad. and, and they get surprised, like, wow, yeah, he never mentioned anything. It's like, yeah, well, he be quiet. He's a quiet guy. So.
Gotcha. Well, so one more question I have for you for tonight. If you were talking to someone who was kind of on the fence, right? So you talked about your veteran community is in hiding right now. If you were talking to someone who was in hiding who is on the fence about coming out to a Silkies hike, or even just a random vet together, or has just learned about IW itself, the organization as a whole, like what would you tell them to get them to come out?
I guess the same thing I always tell them, like um, I tell them the way I feel from my side. I would let them know, like, you know, I use this saying, like, I miss the clowns but not the circus. So
Yep.
don't feel like this is something military. It is actually the opposite. This is like what you always had when you were in. You remember that guy that used to make you laugh, or you remember the guy that used to do the most stupid shit in your platoon or whatever. That's what you're gonna encounter. That you're gonna encounter people like you. You're gonna see people that think like you. You're gonna see people that can understand you, and you can have a talk like you had with me. Because I usually, start with a talk with them. So we try them and tell like, hey, this is for you. This is your family. This is the people you can rely on. This is like us, and we should be proud of what we have done in our life as Puerto Rican, and you should display that, like, because inside of you, I know it wants to come out. So just show it.
Good. And I mean, have you had any instances where you've bumped into someone and you've actually convinced them to come out to the hike?
Oh yeah, plenty. I actually have like uh, four, five couple, five person. I met them in San Juan. They were in the cruises because they were like just visiting San Juan. I run into one have obviously a marine hat. I was like, "Hey, did you crying this morning?" From the other side of the street. He started laughing. So I go introduce myself and I tell like I think he's from North Carolina. I talk to him like the chapters they have in their cities. Give them my car. I told them like you have a brother here in Puerto Rico. Whenever you want to come, you should be come visit to my hike so you can know what it is about. And they was like, definitely I'm coming back to Puerto Rico. So they did sign up for the hike, and they're coming down to Puerto Rico to see the hike. So um, I found one at the gym where I go in the mornings because I overheard from him mentioning something about the military in the bathroom. So I kind of chase him down. I tend to chase people down. Like, like when I hear like people like military, like, oh, like I go like, what? Oh, let me who's this guy? So I go chase him down. I was like, I overheard like you were in the military. I was like, oh yeah, I'm a officer and about to retire. Blah blah blah. It's like, oh really? So this is my car. Like this is what I do. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I heard about you guys. Like, what do you see?" So he signed up for it. He's bringing the ROTC guys that he runs to be volunteers as well. So got like just
Nice.
bring them as volunteers. They cannot do the high, but bring them as volunteers so they can see what they might expect in the future from whenever they get out. They're gonna have a
Yeah.
community behind them. Like not everything's gonna be as bad as people say it is. There's always like something positive out of like all this that we've gone through, which is like the people that serve with you. I think we all have the same mentality in certain way, right?
Yeah.
And then we connected in that way. So I mean, like I say, I chase people down and then pretty much make them come. Or I either tell them like, "Hey, you see these thunder ties?" Because I'm always in shorts. I work in shorts anyway, so I'm always in shorts. People's like, "Why are you always in shorts?" Like, this is my uniform. Even for my work, I go to the office in shorts. So because I'm allowed, I'm allo- allowed to dress as I want, and then people get like they want to know why are you in shorts? Well, let me tell you why I'm shorts. You know, and I go with the story, and then that's how I also find like um, sponsors or people want to get involved, or either people that know a veteran that need help. Because I had this case also that people's like, oh well, I know I have a neighbor that he's a veteran, he might need like some help, whatever. So I go visit the person. I literally travel. Our island is 100 by 35, and I travel to anywhere on the island. It's like could be 2 hours, 3 hour. I travel to anywhere in the island. I will go and visit anyone that needs my help. And then with that, I have connected people with other veterans. And so I started creating these little, groups in every town of like IW, so they support each other when they need. So they have someone in that town. Because since I know so many people, when I found someone, I said, "Oh, I got this guy. I'm gonna give you his number. Call him. Tell him that I give you your phone number." And they're okay with that because they understand what we're doing. Which is saving veterans' life by connecting and having community.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, no, that's super important. And if you're traveling all over the island, then you're getting maximum exposure, to everybody, especially if you're running around wearing a short shorts. I wish I could wear short shorts like that to work. If I could work in my silkies, I would show up to work in my silkies. They would not let me in the building if I showed up to work in my silkies.
Yeah.
I work in chemical manufacturing, so that's not I can't do that. I can't show up in silkies. They wouldn't
Just
let me in the
wear them under
building.
just in case. Just wear them under just in case.
Oh man. Well, I think that wraps it up. I wanna thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule and out of your day to come talk about the PR Silky hike down there in the beautiful Puerto Rico. Hopefully when people listen to the show, they hear about the Puerto Rico hike, that they get registered. If you get an uptick of registers a week before your hike, it was because they listened to the show and they wanted to get on board. So hopefully we get a bunch more hikers for you.
If not, next year we're shooting always to be the first one of the year, for a couple of reasons. It's winter time, so you can come in the hot weather for a few weeks. It's a destination, and we do it also the week before President's Day weekend because it's cheaper. So to fly into Puerto Rico, cheap time, winter time, no brainer. So we always would try to be first week of February, our hike. So if you miss it this year, next year, make it a plan.
There you go. If you don't make it, you heard it from the LC of Puerto Rico himself, Audi. If you guys don't get there February 1st, 2025, you'll have to make sure you get out there for the first weekend of February 2026. Get out of the
Fe-
cold, come on down, enjoy the warm weather.
February 7th.
Oh, all right, February 7th. All right, there we go. She's already got the date ready to go. So
Yeah, I'm
he's
thinking about
set.
already.
Well, all right, and there you have it. So we want to thank Hugh, Ed, Nate, and Audi from Puerto Rico for joining us and taking the time to hang out with us this evening. We really appreciate everybody for taking their time. Thank you all for tuning in and listening. Be sure to share this episode far and wide so we can bring a little humor and camaraderie to anybody who might listen. Until next time, stay irreverent, my friends.
Thank you.